The mists clung to the eaves of the cedar shingle cottage like a damp wool blanket. Inside, Elara moved with the practiced silence. Elara was 24, though the solitude had aged her spirit. Her larder consisted of a single withered apple and a jar of honey. She pulled on her heavy canvas coat. The air outside smelled of crushed pine needles. The hike to the berry thickets took her deeper into the valley. As she moved, Elara kept her eyes low, scanning for the telltale serrated leaves of wild ramps. Her basket held a respectable bounty. She was kneeling near a moss-covered log when she heard it. It was a thin, ragged sound, a needle of noise piercing the silence. She followed the noise toward a hollowed-out stump. There, huddled against the rotting wood, was a creature that looked more like a soot-stained rag. "Well," Elara whispered. Elara reached into her basket and pulled out a small piece of dried venison she'd kept in her pocket. She tore a tiny shred and held it out. "Well," Elara whispered. Elara reached into her basket and pulled out a small piece of dried venison she'd kept in her pocket. She tore a tiny shred and held it out. The walk back was harder. The cat, warmed by Elara's body heat, began to purr. It was a low, vibrating rumble that felt like a second heartbeat. By the time the cottage's stone chimney came into view, the rain had begun to fall. Elara hurried inside, the wooden floorboards groaning a familiar greeting. She set the basket on the table and carefully unzipped her coat. The cat spilled out onto the rug by the cold hearth, looking dizzy. Elara moved with a new sense of urgency. She didn't start her own tea. She built a small pyramid of kindling. The dry cedar began to crackle. She took a small bowl and crumbled the rest of her venison into it, adding a splash of goat's milk. The cat ate with a frantic intensity. She folded an old wool sweater, one she'd outgrown, into a nest near the warmth of the stones. Cinder fell into a profound, boneless sleep. She sat in her rocking chair, a bowl of wild onion soup in her hands, watching the cat sleep. The solitude wasn't gone, but the loneliness had been evicted. The following days saw a shift. When Elara chopped wood, Cinder watched from the windowsill, her head bobbing. One evening, Elara sat at her small desk writing in her journal. Cinder jumped up, walking across the parchment, and sat directly on the ink pot. She picked up the cat, tucked her under her chin. Elara looked out the window at the dark silhouette. Inside, there was warmth, there was soup, and there was the steady, rhythmic breathing of a friend.